They said the meteor would change the world. They didn't say how fast. It's been 5 days since impact. The sky hasn't cleared once. I drive in daylight, but there's no sun. Just a ceiling of dirty gray stretched across the sky, pulsing with orange glows from distant fires. Ash falls like slow-motion snow, and when I open the truck door, it crunches beneath my boots like black powder. The cold bites harder every morning, and it's only the beginning. They were right about one thing. The old world is dead. But I'm still breathing, and as long as I am, I'll keep going. Rachel's out here, somewhere in eastern Nevada, and I'm going to find her. I stopped keeping track of the exact miles. Road signs are buried under layers of soot. GPS is a joke. Most satellites are offline or scrambled. My map is the truck's onboard compass and a printout I scavenged from a ranger's office in Utah, now smudged with ash and coffee. I follow I-80 east, what's left of it. The asphalt is warped and cracked from tremors. Some bridges are collapsed entirely. In one place, I had to push through an overturned convoy, military trucks, FEMA rigs, and a school bus flipped like a toy. I didn't look inside. I couldn't. The first time I saw another living person was outside a fuel station, near what used to be Elko. He stepped out from behind a toppled sign, rifle raised, mask on. His clothes were stitched together from hunting gear and tarps. We stood staring at each other through the snowfall of ash. Neither of us moved. Then slowly he lowered his gun. I nodded. We didn't speak. He pointed at the fuel pumps, gave me a thumbs down, then vanished into the dead tree line like smoke. That's how things work now. No questions, no names. Trust is a currency nobody has left to spend. Food's running low. I ration a protein bar each morning, sometimes a can of soup at night. No fire, too dangerous. The ash clogs everything and glows with static. Too much heat draws attention, from animals, or worse, other people. I learned that the hard way. On night 2, I lit a small camp stove inside a half-collapsed car dealership. I kept the flame low, just enough to warm my hands. 15 minutes later, someone tried to pry the door open from the outside. They didn't knock. Didn't call out. They just tried to break in. I pulled my pistol, backed into the stairwell, and waited with my breath frozen in my throat. After 10 minutes of scratching at the back exit, they left. No words. Just the long silence of ash-covered footsteps fading away. The truck's battery finally died on the 7th day. I made it as far as Battle Mountain before the onboard systems failed. I slept in the cab that night, wrapped in every jacket and blanket I had. The next morning, I left it behind. Took my pack, my filtered mask, a small hatchet, the letters I'd written Rachel, and started walking. The ash storms are unpredictable. They blow through like hurricanes, choking everything in their path. I got caught in one on the outskirts of a ghost town. The kind of place that used to have a diner, a motel, a gas station, and not much else. Now it's just skeletal signage and shattered glass. I ducked into an old laundromat for cover. Inside, someone had been living there. Pallet walls, shelves stacked with MREs, and a sleeping bag still zipped halfway up. Whoever it was, they were long gone. But they left a note, etched into the dusty glass of a broken vending machine. East is dead. Go north. Mountains have shelter. It could have meant anything. Could have been a trap. But I took a photo of it with a handheld just in case. Some nights, I dream of the old world. Airplanes overhead, grocery store music. My daughter's voice calling to me from the hallway. I wake up in cold sweat, clutching the pouch of letters like a talisman. I read one. Then I write another. It's all I have to stay sane. I found a working radio in a ranger's outpost yesterday. Battery powered. Barely clinging to life, but when I twisted the dial, something came through. Crackly. Broken. But real. Outpost 17, Southeast Ridge. Survivors holding supplies low, weather worsening. I froze. Then came the voice. Rachel Grant. If anyone hears this, please. Static swallowed the rest. I screamed into the radio. I hear you. Rachel, it's me. It's Dad. I'm coming. But it was already gone. I'm moving faster now. I don't care about rest. I don't care about food. I care about the next ridge, the next valley, the next building that might have shelter or information or one more clue. Rachel's alive. And I'm not going to let this world bury her. Day 10 after the meteor. The cold is a living thing now, not just a temperature. It moves, creeps in through the seams of your clothes, burrows under your skin. You don't even notice your fingers going numb until you drop something. Then you wonder how long they've been blue. It's not even deep winter yet. That's what keeps me awake at night. Because this is just the beginning. I passed through what used to be Winnemucca. It looked like a war zone. Buildings split down the middle. Streets cracked open like ribs. A train had derailed right through the heart of town and smashed into an overpass that now leans like a broken jaw. There were people there once, I could tell. Signs of them. Makeshift barricades, empty fire pits, graffiti and red spray paint on a convenience store window that read, "No gods, no help, no home." I searched what I could, found a half-sealed crate of military rations under a collapsed awning, took what I needed and moved on. I never stay more than a few hours in one place now. Too many disappearances. The ash is changing. It's getting thicker, heavier. What used to be a fine dust is now clumping, weighing down trees and rooftops until they collapse under the weight. Whole forests have turned skeletal. Snow mixed with soot. Dead rivers winding like black veins through a colorless world. Everywhere I go smells like sulfur and cold fire. And the silence is deafening. I found a man frozen to death outside a fire station 3 days ago. He had wrapped himself in aluminum siding and crawled inside an old ambulance. Died with a flare in one hand and a Bible in the other. His eyes were open. I buried him. Not out of kindness, just habit. I don't think people should be left like that. He had a name tag still clipped to his collar, Kenny. I carved it into the side of the ambulance with my hatchet before I left. That night I saw fire on the horizon, a ribbon of flickering orange across the mountaintops, like the earth itself was bleeding. I got closer the next day and saw what it was. A refugee camp. What was left of one. Tents scattered like leaves, burned-out vehicles still smoldering. Bodies, some frozen in place, some buried under collapsed shelters. One truck had a radio transmitter in the back, smashed to pieces. No signs of who did it. No tracks, no survivors. Just the wind, carrying ash like a funeral veil. That night I stayed hidden in the hollow of a collapsed barn. I wrapped myself in insulation and prayed the storm wouldn't find me. I dreamed of my wife. Not the day she died, but the day we first met. Her laugh, her eyes, the way she always knew when I was lying about being fine. She's gone. Cancer took her long before the sky ever did. But Rachel's still out there. I have to believe that. Day 13. I heard music. Real music. Just a few bars. Then static. But I followed it. A low radio signal bouncing off the mountains. I moved east and found an old tower still standing, barely, held together by rust and ice. A cable ran from the base into a trailer wrapped in insulation and camouflage netting. Inside were 3 people. A man in his 60s named Jonah, a woman in her 30s named Pilar, and a boy who couldn't have been older than 12, and he didn't speak, just stared at me with hollow eyes. They let me in, gave me food, warmth, and something I hadn't felt in a long time, human presence. Jonah said they'd been broadcasting emergency messages for a week, hoping to catch survivors. Most signals were dead. The few that remained were either pre-recorded loops or automated military alerts with no response channels. But 2 nights ago, they got something strange. He played it for me. It was a voice, clearer than most. Young, female. This is Rachel Grant. I'm at Outpost 17, northern Utah. Please, if anyone hears me. I dropped my spoon. I couldn't speak. Pilar rewound the recording. I listened again. It was her, my daughter, Rachel. Jonah said they didn't know how fresh the message was. Could have been from a week ago, maybe more. No guarantee the outpost even still stood. But I knew. I felt it in my bones. She was alive. And she was calling for me. I left the next morning with a hand-drawn map, extra supplies, and a promise to return if I found her. Pilar gave me a compass. The boy handed me a small drawing of a bird with fire for wings. He never said a word, but he smiled. That was enough. Day 15. I crossed into Utah. It gets colder with every step. The road ahead is worse than anything I've seen. But I don't stop, because Rachel's voice is in my ears. Because hope is the only fuel I've got left. Day 16. I've been following a broken highway through Utah's canyonlands. Every bridge is a gamble. Some are half collapsed. Others have frozen carcasses of vehicles hanging off the edge, their occupants long gone. I walked past a school bus today, still yellow, still upright, still full of skeletons wearing seatbelts. I don't check the glove box anymore. I already know what I'll find. Molded granola bars, empty bottles, maybe a stuffed animal clutched in a tiny hand. The world didn't burn in one day. It died slow and quiet. Rachel's signal grows weaker the closer I get. It doesn't make sense. The mountains are interfering, maybe. Or the outpost is farther north than I thought, or it's gone altogether, buried under ice and ash. But I won't accept that. I can't. She's out here. I know she is. Day 18. I found a town called Jensen, or what's left of it. There's a church still standing at the center, half covered in soot. Stained glass shattered. I went in to get out of the cold. There were candles still melted into the altar, footprints in the dust. A Bible with pages stuck together by frost and blood. In the pews, 3 bodies sat side by side, dressed in Sunday best. A man, a woman, a teenage girl, all frozen, hands clasped, eyes closed, like they went together on purpose. I saw myself in them. Me, Claire, and Rachel. If this world had ended just a year earlier, that could have been us. Sometimes I wonder if it would have been easier that way. But then I hear Rachel's voice again, echoing in my head. Outpost 17, northern Utah. It keeps me going. That night I made camp in an abandoned gas station. I found a CB radio in the back, rigged it to my crank battery, and tried scanning channels. Nothing for an hour. Then 3 clicks. Static. Then silence. I responded. 3 clicks received. Identify. A long pause. Then click. 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 I kept the radio close all night, but nothing more came through. Someone's out here. But whether they're friend or foe, I don't know. Day 20. I was followed today. I don't say that lightly. I've learned to trust my instincts out here. And something was behind me in the canyon. No footprints, no sound. Just the unmistakable feeling of eyes. I turned, waited, listened. Nothing. But I know what I felt. I left a decoy pack hanging from a tree and doubled back around at night. At dawn, it was gone. Just a torn strap left swinging in the wind. Day 22. I found a military checkpoint. Rusted Humvees. Sandbags coated in ice. Signs that read, "Evacuation zone, do not enter," in English and Spanish. Inside one of the tents were bodies in hazmat suits. They'd been shot, execution style. One of them had a logbook. I read as much as I could before the ink turned to blur. Holding steady at 34 survivors. One infected showing signs of respiratory collapse. Rations low. Morale lower. Orders from command are to contain, not rescue. This is a death sentence. The last entry. We heard a boom last night. The sky turned orange. It's here. God help us. Outpost 17 has to be close. I've started seeing faded stencils on broken road signs. Sector 17 ahead. And another. Refuge is real. They remind me of those free coffee signs on rural highways. Only this time the coffee is survival. Day 24. I'm at the edge of what looks like a basin. Snow drifts gather in piles 5 feet high. Black ice reflects the dim twilight of a sun that barely rises now. And at the far side I see lights. Dim, flickering, but real. I crawled the last 100 yards on my belly through ash and bone until I reached the perimeter. Chain-link fence. Floodlights on tall poles. A watchtower with no guard. Sandbags frozen in place. It's not a base. It's barely even a camp. But it has warmth and voices. And maybe, just maybe, my daughter. I stood up and shouted, "Hello?" Nothing. Then a spotlight snapped on. A voice on an intercom barked, "Hands up, drop your weapon." I complied. The gate creaked open, and 2 figures in scavenged gear rushed out. They searched me, cuffed me, and dragged me inside. My vision blurred. My knees buckled. The last thing I remember before blacking out was someone shouting, "Get Dr. Ellis! We got another one!" When I woke up, I was in a warm room. That detail alone nearly made me cry. Actual warmth. I was wrapped in an emergency blanket, laying on a cot. A propane heater buzzed quietly in the corner. I smelled something. Beans, maybe. Or soup. A woman sat across from me, watching. She looked exhausted. Her gray hair was tied back in a knot. She wore a battered fleece jacket and had the calm, clinical demeanor of someone who'd seen far too much death. "You're lucky," she said. "Could have lost both feet in another day." I nodded, too hoarse to speak. "You're at Outpost 17, she said as she offered me a cup of lukewarm broth. "I'm Dr. Ellis. Don't try anything stupid." I didn't. I drank the broth. It was the best thing I'd tasted since the world ended. She let me rest for a few hours before I was led out of the infirmary and shown around. Outpost 17 wasn't much. Maybe 40 people living in repurposed trailers, scavenged prefab shelters, and old FEMA tents. Most of the power came from scavenged solar panels, the rest from a wind turbine that barely spun. There were perimeter defenses, barbed wire, tripwires, floodlights. People were armed, tired, suspicious, but alive. The outpost sat in a basin, surrounded by cliffs. The elevation kept it above the flood line when the melted snow surged, and the mountains helped break the worst of windstorms. They'd built it themselves, piece by piece. No help, no orders, just stubborn hope. I asked about Rachel the moment I had the strength. A young man named Sam, maybe 19, pointed to a radio tower at the edge of camp. "She's one of the voices we picked up," he said. "Don't know if she's still out there." "Her name is Rachel Grant. She's my daughter." He blinked. She kept asking about a Mason. My heart nearly gave out. "Where is she?" He looked away. "Signal's been gone 3 days. North-northeast. Last ping came from a broadcast tower near the Idaho border, but what?" "It's a dead zone now. Ashfall's too thick. Temp dropped below -50 last week. Nobody comes back from that." Dr. Ellis confirmed it. She showed me a map dotted with red pins. Each one marked a signal, a life. Most had gone dark. Some were handwritten over in black marker. Deceased. "You can't go after her," Ellis said. "If she's alive, she's gone underground or she's moved south." "I have to try." "I admire the optimism," she said. "But this isn't a movie. This is survival. We lost 2 scouts last week trying to retrieve a fuel cell. We don't have people to spare. I'm not asking for people. Then you'll die out there. Better out there trying than in here waiting." She looked at me a long time before nodding. "You'll need gear. Rest first. And make your peace. You leave this outpost, there's no guarantee you make it back." That night, I sat by the fire with Sam. He handed me a dented photo of a girl. "My sister," he said. "She didn't make it." I nodded. "Mine's still out there." He didn't argue. Instead, he handed me a crude, hand-drawn map. "If you're going, take this. There's a fire watch tower halfway to Idaho. Still standing last we heard. Might get a signal out." I stared into the flames. "Do you think things will ever go back to normal?" He laughed once. "This is normal now." Day 27. I left the outpost at dawn. They gave me a sled with supplies, a rifle, and a spare radio. Dr. Ellis didn't say goodbye. Sam did. He just handed me a small tin and said, Open it when you find her. Inside was a chocolate bar wrapped in foil. It felt like a sacred relic. Day 29. Everything hurts again. The cold is alive now, pressing into my bones like a weight. My breath freezes in my beard. My water bottle shattered overnight from the frost. But I see the tower. Far ahead on a distant ridge, a black silhouette against the ash-gray sky. The fire watch post. I have to reach it. I will reach it. Because I promised her. Day 30. The fire watch tower was still standing. Barely. It rose from the skeletal trees like a forgotten monument, tilted, one support beam cracked and split down the middle. I trudged through the knee-deep snowdrift, dragging the sled behind me until I reached the stairs. Every step creaked like it was going to collapse beneath me. I held my breath, climbing slowly, not daring to look down. The wind screamed across the ridge, lashing me with ash and ice. When I reached the top, the view stole what little breath I had left. Ruined forests stretched for miles. Whole swaths of them burned in patches, others encased in frost, as if petrified in mid-collapse. The horizon was choked by gray haze, and the sun looked like a dull orange bruise behind the clouds. No movement, no signs of life. The world was holding its breath. Inside the tower was a miracle. Bare bones, but functional. A radio powered by a car battery, old paper logs, cans of food stacked in a crate. Someone had lived here. Until they didn't. There were frozen blankets in the corner and an empty thermos. The smell of old smoke lingered in the walls. A small, weather-beaten photograph had been pinned to the desk. A young girl and her mother, smiling in a city that no longer existed. I sat down and turned the dial on the radio. Static. 100 empty frequencies. Then, out there. Repeat. Anyone out there? This is Rachel Grant. Broadcasting from... My hand froze on the dial. I adjusted the signal. Safe for now, holding. If you can hear this, Dad, please. I'm at Tower 47. We're low on fuel, food. Please come. Anyone. Please. She was alive. I repeated her call sign back, transmitting, Rachel, it's me. It's Dad. I'm alive. I'm at a fire watch tower. Don't know the number. I'm coming for you. Hold on. Just hold on. No reply. Just the same loop. A recording. But it didn't matter. It was her voice. She was still out there. Day 33. I mapped her coordinates based on the tower number. Tower 47. It was real. Deep in what used to be northern Utah near the remnants of a national park. A dangerous distance. Too far to walk. No snowmobile. No convoy. Just a man and a sled. But she was alive, and I had nothing left but the promise to find her. Before I left, I made one more transmission from the tower. To anyone listening, this is Mason Grant, former meteorologist, survivor of the Cascade Strike. If you're hearing this, you are not alone. I paused. This isn't the end of the world. It's just the end of the world we knew. I set out south. The weather was turning, slightly warmer, but the winds were erratic now, cutting sideways and violent. Blizzards came without warning. Roads vanished. Even the stars seemed foreign. I walked through frozen towns. Cars turned to tombs. I scavenged what I could. Batteries, dry rations, warm socks. One store had mannequins scattered across the parking lot. A prank or a message, I couldn't tell. At night, I read Rachel's last messages again and again, played her voice on the recorder like a prayer. I didn't sleep much. Couldn't. I found a farmhouse. The front door had been blown off its hinges by the wind. Inside, someone had lived until recently. There was a diary on the table, entries scrawled with shaking hands. Talk of frostbite. Talk of mercy. I didn't read it all. I lit a fire in the wood stove and left half my food. If someone returned, they'd need it more than I would. No more voices on the radio. Just mine, calling out again and again. But still I moved forward. Day 40. The sun pierced the clouds today. Just for a few seconds. It was weak, pale and bruised, but it was there. And for the first time in weeks, I saw the snow sparkle. I stood in it, the silence deep and pure, and I cried. Not because of the cold, but because I finally believed we might make it.